Hi and welcome to Outwell and to the Hornet 6 SA from our Smart Air collection. You can see here that it's a large family tunnel design tent and it's aimed to sleep up to 6 people across 3 bedrooms at the back. We have a large sealed living space on the inside and a good canopy sheltered area at the front, of course, which we will show you in detail shortly. First of all though, I'd like to talk you through the features on the outside, and I'll start off with the fabric and material that we're using on here. This is our Outex 6000. So in terms of Outwell tents, this is the top range of material that we do. It has a 6000 hydrostatic head and it's a great quality premium polyester taffeta material. In terms of the hydrostatic head, we fully PU coat the inside to give it that 6000, and of course all of the seams throughout the fly sheet are fully taped as well. So what that means is the tent is completely waterproof and you can be safe in the knowledge that even in really heavy rainfall you're going to be kept nice and dry within the tent itself. So just to highlight that this fly sheet has been fully UV treated to ensure that you get maximum lifespan for the tent. Next, I'd like to talk about the frame, and with this being part of our Smart Air collection, you may have guessed that it is an inflatable tent. What we have are these large tubes that run across the tent like this, and then we have tubes down the middle which actually connect them all. So that is what makes up our advanced air tube system. These are all interconnected again, which we'll show you on the inside, but what that actually means is that when it comes to pitching and taking the tent down, it's certainly very quick and very easy to do. All you have to do is take the pump that we supply with the tent. So this is a double action two-way pump, and what we mean by that is that when you pull up on the lever and push down on the lever, you are actually inflating the tubes, so that's what makes it that little bit quicker and easier to do. We also on the pump have a pressure gauge on top, so you can keep an eye on the pressure when you're inflating the tent, and we would recommend pumping this tent up to 7 psi, which is about 0.5 bar. To do that, all we have to do is simply plug the pump into one single point. So just in the middle of the tent here, you'll see that there is an air in valve. Just under here is where the valve is. So all we have to do is unscrew this. And you'll notice here that this is a one-way valve, so air isn't coming out at the moment. Simply attach the pump and inflate the tent. So as I say, really quick and easy to do. From this one single position then, because all of the tubes inside are all connected, that's why it's so quick. To take the tent down is really simple and easy to do as well, because each of the large tubes that run across the tent have their own outlet valves. So just down here, you'll see we have the cover, which quite clearly says air out. Underneath that is where your release valve is. So when we switch this to the open position, of course you will hear and feel the air rushing out of the tent, making takedown really quick and easy as well. So other features to highlight on here, I'll start off with the large windows that we have running down the sides of the tent and across the front as well. All really good sized large windows, allowing enough light into the tent so that it feels nice and spacious, but they are all tinted windows. So two key functionalities here. One is that they will reduce the amount of glare from the sun inside the tent, and obviously you're going to get much better privacy within the tent as well. Some other features then on the side, I just want to highlight that we have this full rain-safe entrance on here, and how this is made up is using a alloy pole, which is actually a full length pole, so it's all the way down to the ground, up and across the top through the pole sleeve here, creating this really handy, useful space. So because this area is straight into a sealed area, what we have then, as I mentioned, is a rain-safe entrance. So good amount of shelter from the rain here, but also a really handy and useful storage area, perhaps for shoes and boots and things like that. It does have a waterproof ground sheet on here as well, so certainly this would be an area where you could take off your wet and muddy clothing or footwear and leave in here. This is a detachable ground sheet, so it doesn't have to be in here as well. There's a full waterproof door which just zips down to the ground here as well, and then we have these curtains on the windows rather on the inside, which each have their own curtains, so these can be closed over. So you could even use this if you have small kiddies, then you could easily have a portable toilet in here as well. So coming around to the front, what I just want to also highlight is we're using our classic luminous skylines on this tent here, so hopefully you should see these when it's a little bit darker. And we have our well-known guy line retainer here as well, so packing down the tent, we wrap up the guy lines in our hands and pop them into these Velcro loops here, so that the next time you come to use the tent, of course, they're going to be easily accessible, and you're not going to have a big tangled mess of guylings that you have to waste your time untangling. So as I mentioned before, we do have this canopy at the front of the tent, which we'll come around to in a second, but just to highlight that we're using a Duratec fiberglass pole on the front here, which just goes through the sleeves and into the cups that are already pre-attached to the tent. You'll also notice on the front canopy area there is some mud valances around the sides, of course on both sides here, just to encourage rainwater to run down and away from the front entrance to the tent. So this is where you can see we have the canopy or sheltered area at the front here. You can see that's actually a really good space to have maybe a chair or some cooking equipment or something like that out here. Certainly enough of a canopy on here so that if you're lucky enough for it to be a hot sunny day, you're going to get a little bit of shade, or if it is still quite mild outside but that little bit drizzly, then you do have some shelter in here as well. The front door on here is a D-door style, so that's where it rolls across to the side instead of up, so actually it's easier to deal with. Of course that then just zips down and can be completely sealed closed as well, and there is a large tinted window on the front of this as well. So the front area of the tent, as I've just said, they're a good sized front door, so that's going to allow you easy access in and out of the tent, and of course make it nice and easy for you to get all of your kit in and out of the tent as well. Next, I want to talk to you about the ground sheet. So this tent is great because from front to back and side to side, you have a fully sealed ground sheet in here. So what that means is that, of course, it's completely sealed around the edges, but it is bathtub in style as well. So if we just look around the edges here, we'll see that it does come up at the sides, and that's going to stop any drafts from coming in. It's going to stop things like dirt, dust and sand, and more importantly, hopefully keep out those unwanted creepy crawlies as well. The ground sheet itself is made up of a durable and tough material. It's a double-coated polyethylene material with a hydrostatic head of 10,000 millimeters. So again, totally waterproof here as well. A really nice feature on this ground sheet is you can see here that we have the flat front to the ground sheet itself. So you can peg this down as we have done here. So that gives you easy access in and out of the tent. But you'll also notice then along the front of it, it has a zip here, and then we have a piece of PVC material on here as well, so that when we fold this up and zip it to the door, you do have a fully sealed front door. So one thing I also want to highlight then is the shape of this tent. It actually is a Gothic arch shape. Now I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it in this tight space, but it actually sits with a peak at the top in the middle. What that gives you, of course, is much better head height within the tent itself, and it does add to the stability as well. Inside the tent then itself, you can see we have this really large, fully sealed area, so nice and cozy in here, but there is certainly plenty of ventilation in here as well. We have mesh doors on either side of us, which can be fully zipped down into place, as we have done on this one here, and it is the same on the opposite side where that rain-safe shelter is as well. What we also have is some mesh ventilation panels across the tops of the windows, which do relate to outside ventilation panels as well. The windows I mentioned earlier on are certainly a good size, as I said, but if you do want that little bit more privacy, then what you will find is each individual window has its own curtain. These are zipped curtains, which you can just see we have zipped away at the moment, and this is rolled down and toggled just in here. But with the two zips either side, you can actually choose just how much privacy or how much light you're letting into the tent. So the next thing that I want to highlight to you is something that I have already mentioned, which is our advanced air tube system, where all of these tubes are all interconnected. So just to highlight up the top here, this is where we have all of our valves on the inside here. So what we can do is once the tent is inflated, we can switch these to this position here, which is now closed. Now what that does is it then separates all of the tubes inside the tent, so that in the unlikely event of something going wrong, the whole tent's not going to drop down. It would just be the one tube. You can leave these open if you want, but I would certainly recommend just closing them all off. At the top, in the centre of the tent, you will find we have a lantern hanging point in the middle just here. And then actually running away from that on both sides, we have these little Velcro loops, which you'll find are cable tidies, which run down to a cable entry point on the side. So this one at the moment is just zip closed. But what that means is you can see if the door was zipped over and completely sealed, then we still have access to allow us to bring our electrics into the tent from here. So towards the back of the tent is where the bedrooms are situated, and as I mentioned earlier on, this tent can sleep up to 3 people. what I want to point out here is that these bedrooms actually come pre-attached already, so that's a job that you don't need to worry about. They're already in place, so one less thing for you to do. So the setup that we have at the moment is open like this to show you some neat features within these bedrooms, but the first and most important point, I think, is the fact that these are our new master bedrooms. So what that means is we have a much deeper bedroom than the industry standard. So industry standard is about 215 centimetres deep. These are actually 250 centimetres deep. So you get much more space within here. You can see here that we have a large inflatable bed, but we do still have space at the front here and at the back, and of course around here as well, so that you can actually move around the bedrooms that little bit easier. There's much better head height within here as well, and that's largely due to the fact that the back wall of this tent isn't quite as angled. It's actually much more sort of steep, if you like, and that gives you much better head height within the bedrooms as well, so nice and easy to get dressed or undressed without having to sort of crouch down. So as I say, the setup that we have at the moment, we actually have opened up 2 of our bedrooms. I did mention earlier that it has 3 bedrooms. So you can see actually in this area here, we have zipped open this area, which gives you one huge big master bedroom and then a good sized bedroom next to us here. As I say, you can have these as 3, or even if you want, just one large bedroom across the back here. So lots of other features in here to talk you through, and I'll start across the sort of back area if you like. In this back corner here, we have some handy storage pockets, so it's going to be ideal for smaller personal possessions. Something else which features prominently in these bedrooms is that we actually have windows which run all the way around the outside of the bedrooms, which you can just see here. At the back we actually have the curtains closed at the moment, which just highlights to you that that is of course an option. So you can have these windows open to have some daylight in the bedrooms during the day, but of course when you need that privacy, then all you have to do is simply come to these large mesh panels here, which also correspond with ventilation, by the way. We can open these up like this, and then just in behind here you do have a curtain which you can toggle into position to close these windows off. But as I say, a really neat feature and quite unique, allowing that little bit extra daylight into the bedrooms themselves. What we also have across the back is some hanging rope. So you can see here we actually have one of our lights hanging from here at the moment. A really handy feature. And then across the top of the bedrooms we have our night sky ceilings, so a darker material, so if you are camping in those long summer days, then of course the sun rises quite early. That's going to hopefully keep you sleeping that little bit longer, but of course the sun doesn't set until quite late in the summer as well, so should provide you with that little bit of extra darkness within the bedrooms. So something else that I wanted to highlight is all of the pockets on the outside of the bedrooms. Again, great for smaller bits and pieces within here. And we're also using our universal inners within this, this tent here as well. And that's just across this side here, which is what these zips are for here. We'll now show you how the universal inner works. So we have a few optional extras available for the Hornet 6 SA, which would be the fleece carpet, like this one that's in here. We also have a 3-layer insulated carpet for those who want that little bit more comfort and of course insulation. There's a footprint available for the tent, keeping the ground sheet nice and clean and dry even on those wet and muddy days. And there's also a front awning available for this tent as well. And that is all of the optional extras and all of the features of the Hornet 6 SA from our Smart Air collection. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, this tent can be inflated using our Typhoon 12-volt compressor pump.